Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome out to another episode of According to Kaz Queen. And as always, I'm Kaz.
And I'm Queen.
And these are conversations that happen between a husband and wife in the privacy of our own home that we bring to you guys, sometimes to make you laugh, sometimes to make you think, but to always be introspective and to open up the lines of communication between husbands and wives, friends and lovers, men and women, all of that good stuff. You can hear us on all streaming services. You know where we're at by now. This is episode number 69. We're in season 3. So you know where to find us. We're on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, you know, all of those places. We're on social media. You can check us out everywhere. We are on Facebook.com. We are on Instagram.com. We are on Twitter.com/Kaz and Queen. You know, all of those spots. You know where to check us out. You know where to find us. Of course, we are also on Black with No Chaser Radio. All right. You can download the BWNC radio app. You can download the BWNC radio app. Of course, you can find us there. And you can go subscribe to YouTube and you can see our bright, shiny faces. We now put up the video of us and the audio. The audio only version is also available on YouTube for those of you who consume your podcast and your music on YouTube. You can see it right here. YouTube.com/Brad Kamikaze Franklin. YouTube.com/Brad Kamikaze Franklin. Make sure you subscribe and make sure you share it with some friends if you enjoy the conversations that we're having here. And we appreciate you guys for creeping us up closer to 1,000 subscribers. All right. So we appreciate that, man. And we appreciate everybody who, you know, leaves a question or a comment. If you would like us to talk about something on this podcast, all you got to do is hit us up, kazandqueen@gmail.com. It's kazandqueen@gmail.com. You got a relationship question, you got a marriage question, you got a question in general about some things that are going on that you want to get our opinions on, hit us up and we'll talk about it just like we talk about it regularly right here in these very seats that you see us in right here in this, what we call our love seat, our love nest right in front of our TV. Where these conversations take place, of course. So, got to get right into it. It's been the talk of the week. My wife always has some type of new relationship or reality show or contest or something that she finds on
it's
Netflix.
Not new. There's nothing new about it.
What you mean it's not new?
Why did you say new?
It doesn't necessarily have to be new. I mean, sometimes they are new. Sometimes they're not. I mean, sometimes they're new to me, but, you know, these aren't shows that were on for 20 years.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying? That's what I mean. So you're a big fan of the reality show, the relationship show, the courting, the dating, whatever the hell it might be. And I think maybe about a year or so ago, you started watching or getting turned on to or really getting in depth into the Love is Blind series. I think The Circle is another one of the shows that you like watching that's on Netflix too, right? You know, another, I love
The Circle.
Sometimes intriguing yet senseless show that I see on Netflix that, you know, at times I will occasionally maybe ask a question about because I might be intrigued. You started watching Love is Blind about a year ago or so ago, and I would dip in and kind of see it and kind of follow it, did kind of stick around sometimes just so I can spend some time with my wife. I will stay in the bed and I will watch these shows because if she's not watching something she wants to watch, she'll get up and she'll leave the room. She does not prefer to spend time with me particularly. So I have to sacrifice things that I like to watch what she wants to watch. So Love is Blind is one of those things.
That is not true at all.
Yes,
that is some foolishness that's coming out of his mouth today.
Yes, it is. So when Love is Blind is on or any of these shows or in these seasons, and she also doesn't like switching from programs until the program is over with for some reason. You know, and she calls me the one that has OCD, but that's crazy.
I'm a binge watcher.
You are a binge watcher. You do prefer shows that have a lot of episodes to them. But at any rate, you started watching this Love is Blind show. I believe I watched one of these seasons all the way up to the marriages. There was a level of intrigue that existed on whether or not these people were going to go through these marriages. If you have not watched Love is Blind, I think the premise of the show is these are people who do not see each other physically or visually. They have conversations with them behind a wall. They're able to talk, ask each other questions, that kind of thing. And these people purportedly fall in love with each other, sight unseen, just by having conversations. And they propose to these people, sight unseen, and they don't see them until after they have been proposed to, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay. So you don't see the person that you're marrying until after you have proposed to them. So, there's that element.
Yes.
Yes. And they've said yes. So there is this element of surprise. And then the second element of surprise is to see whether or not they're going to make it from that stage all the way to the wedding stage. And if they make it past that stage, there's also the suspense that still exists of whether or not this person is going to go through with the wedding. And we have both seen where they made it all the way to the wedding stage and some people said no at the altar. That's not just this season. It's not new to this particular season, but this season seems to have caught the ire of a lot more people. I think a lot more people have watched this season. I've seen more talk about it than I've ever seen before. So obviously, for some reason, this show has caught on and people have gotten involved in it long, after my wife, I guess, started watching it in its infancy. And there is a particular couple, Clay and AD, the black couple on the show, that kind of caught everybody's interest and everybody's kind of interested. And I will be honest with you, I watched a little bit of it in the beginning, and I will say that I was intrigued a little bit watching these interactions as a couple that, talks about relationship issues here on this show. And we also do an event, Love and Life, that's taking place on May the 4th, 2024, by the way, cheap plug. So as a couple that does, relationship panels, I'm interested in seeing some of these interactions because, of course, it's something that we might talk about here. And everybody's mad at Clay. Clay got to the altar and he decided that this was not for him. But for me, there were signs from the very beginning. But since you have watched it thoroughly through the end and, have made your analysis of this particular relationship, and there are other ones on the show, what is your assessment of Clay and AD after this past episode?
I was mad at Clay and a little disappointed.
You made a post about it.
I did.
Yeah.
It wasn't because, people keep saying, I'm not surprised. They ain't surprised. He was saying, yeah, we recognized that Clay had some fundamental issues with marriage. We recognized that he constantly talked about the fact that his dad was unfaithful to his mother. Mm-hmm. And often took him to be unfaithful to his mother.
Did not know that part, but okay.
Yes. So he fundamentally had some healing and growing to do as it relates to being committed and thusly getting married. Mm-hmm. And he did verbalize that throughout. Like there was he constantly said that he had an issue with marriage, that he had issues with understanding how to be married, how to be faithful. Mm-hmm. And he has a fear. Honestly, he has a fear that he is going to turn into his dad. So that was always there. The reason why I think it may have hit people, and I'll speak specifically for myself, the reason why his no to AD hit so hard is because I was hopeful that he would recognize this was his opportunity to move beyond his fear. And so I just kind of, the last day leading up to it, him having a conversation with his dad, what I'm remembering and what stands out to me the most is that he never mentioned these issues to his dad when he had the opportunity to do it. That was my first inclination that he may say no, because there was no resolve at the end. And then I do also understand that there is a format and formula to these shows. I know there has to be some digs to get ratings and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I particularly was hopeful because he seemed to be acknowledging AD as being the person who can help him overcome those issues. So I was hopeful all the way up to the end, to them standing face to face, that it could have been yes or no the whole time, either way. Like all the way up till his mouth opened. You didn't know what he was going to say. But he didn't. He said he wasn't ready, and he wasn't. But I was hopeful that he would recognize the jewel that he had in her, because she was very clearly saw him. She's a very confident woman, and she was still willing. She said she was ready for the ride. She, in fact, said, I'm not going to always be strong, but when I'm strong, I got you. And when I need you to be strong, you got me. She had the perfect idea about this thing. What was most significant to me was Clay's mother, who has obviously done a significant amount of healing work on herself to overcome the stuff she went through with his dad. And she actually gave the words to the dad that I was hoping Clay had given him. But she basically told his dad that you are the reason this man cannot say yes in marriage. And so hopefully this was an opportunity for them as a family to heal. And I am also waiting to watch the reunion, because I know AD was hurt, but she also said that she'd be willing to date after. But then at the end, she was like, I can't date him. So I'm interested to see if they're able, because I'm pretty sure Clay wants to continue to date. He just wasn't ready for marriage. So I'm interested to see what they would do. I personally would not marry him after that, but who knows? It was hard to watch, but we don't get a lot of intricate African American relationships on there on that particular show. So we was reading for the black folks,
right?
And that was a letdown to me. So for all of you people that were saying you're not surprised, cool. We know you're not surprised, but for me as a person who works with people on relationships, identifying their trauma and working through that trauma, I was invested in seeing Clay come out of it. And I thought that saying yes to AD at the altar would be a first step for him to heal some of that trauma.
So from what I saw, I mean, for one, I will say this, although I know people were upset at him saying it at that stage. I mean, I think it's jarring in all of the instances, because of course Clay was not the first person that got to the altar and said no. He was not the first black man that got on the show and said no. I think there was an African guy maybe on another season that said no at the altar. And there have been white guys, women, there have been a lot of no's at the altar. I will say this. I prefer, even though it's not your ideal time, I prefer, if you know that you're not ready for it, I'm cool with you, even if it's at that inconvenient time. I'm cool with you saying no.
Absolutely. Don't waste your time.
Don't waste your time, because a lot of people would get under the glare of those lights, and you're on TV, and look at all of the publicity we could get. Look at the TV shows we could go on. Look at how this could build our social media platform, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people have gotten on there and done that. But you look at those things and you can say, hey, I can say yes in this moment, have the marriage, and then try to make this thing work, when in actuality, you know that your heart is not in it 100%. So I would prefer you at that last moment saying no than to go ahead and say yes. So I'm glad Clay did not say yes and go through with it and turn it into a bad marriage. He clearly had not worked through some things. I was able to see the conversation that the mother had with the father. Unfortunately, I saw quite glaringly he had an Phi Alpha pen on his lapel on the left.
Didn't even notice it.
It was probably the first thing that I saw when it was on him. And I will say, the alpha men are some of the greatest men that have ever been created on this planet. But if you let us, we'll waste a lot of your time too. We will. And unfortunately, I think that has happened in this particular instance, but I thought it was so significant and so poignant for her to have this very brief and short conversation with this man, letting him know that I have forgiven you for what you did, but I want to let you know that you are responsible for what's happening. And even in her trying to get him to have some accountability, even then in that case, he was trying to be charming.
Yeah.
Because he
started flirting.
He said he needed to find somebody like you. He needs to find a woman like you. And instantly, when you have people in those positions that try to diffuse situations by turning on the charm, that's exactly what he did. And she quickly put up the block.
Because she know him.
She knows him, went around him, came back around the table and got close to him so that he could understand what she was saying and saying, look, yes, you found me, but you also treated me poorly when you had me.
Yes.
And he looked stupid in that moment because
she was the star of the show for me.
Yes.
She was everything.
Yes. And it's, a strong black woman, that powerful. Those words were powerful because as fathers, I'm a father to black sons and to a couple of beautiful black daughters as well. And the examples that we set, they are very pivotal in how our sons and our daughters follow us. It follows them in the men that they choose to wed, our daughters, and it follows our sons in how they treat women and how they watch us treat women. And to think that this gentleman actually took his son with him when he was going to be adulterous, when he was, being unfaithful.
And he's a mama's boy.
Yes.
So he was tormented probably by having to watch that.
And watching someone that he probably loved and respected.
Clearly.
And revered. Mm-hmm. This is my dad, but I love my mother, but this is my dad. And in his mind, he's getting the idea that this is how you're supposed to conduct yourself as a man. As a man, and these look like these were two professional people, the mother and the father. I don't know what their occupations were, but, they're clearly educated and professional people. Your son is watching you do this, and he's getting the idea that this is what you're supposed to do. As a professional man, when you got a good woman at home, but you look good, it's your duty and your job to go out and be adulterous and to have as many women as you can have, even though you have a wonderful wife at home. And that was the model that he took in his head. And I think he was conflicted because he's saying to himself, when I get married, even though I'm feeling like it's not supposed to be that way, I was raised on stepping out on my wife. And is that what I'm supposed to do? I haven't healed from it. My father has not apologized for it. I don't even know if the father has even said to him, son, what I did was wrong. I don't know if that's even happened. And if that hasn't happened, that's going to affect him. I think also, from the very beginning, when Clay said that he wanted to see what AD looked like when he was stuck on the appearance right off the bat, and he was admitting that that's the case. And while I will say we have to be honest with ourselves when we say that attraction and physical attraction is not a part of us reaching out and trying to build something with someone, it was a little superficial and a little shallow of him to say that right off the bat, because this show is Love is Blind. And I think that comes from his father. I think he was around his father. I think the whole, a woman has to look a certain way, body has to look a certain way before all else. I think all of that came from riding around with your adulterous father. And people, those things stick with you. They don't go away. These are not things that happen in your childhood and somehow when you become an adult, they just leave and they're gone. All of us have traumatic episodes in our childhood, or we have memories in our childhood that stick with us to this day, whether they be good or whether they're bad. And we have to be very careful as parents how we conduct ourselves, because our kids, are looking at us in this particular sense. And that was just one of the cases. I had my opinions on AD. I'll let you kind of speak on it, but I kind of had my opinions on seeing her, first of all, and to the end. She kind of proved to be, a genuine person in the end. But I felt in the very beginning, I felt like for her, she worked very hard on her body. I think having a body was very important to her. I think she had some self-esteem issues as well. And, those things didn't play out as much as I thought they would later on. But, what were your thoughts on her in the beginning?
I just kind of felt it was a little difficult for me to connect to AD. I feel like she just gave us a little bit. I don't think she gave us all of who she was.
I think she gave us some TV stuff.
Yeah, I think she gave us, the guarded, prepared version of herself, the way she wanted people to perceive her, and not necessarily who she actually was. Which may be why she was okay with him after that comment about what she looked like, because she was absolutely against that. Which is what makes us think that she may have had some issues with her physical appearance in the past. She was absolutely not with it, but she forgave him and then moved on. Then they had the scene where the other guy in another couple was giving her quite a lot of attention. He was clearly attracted to her, and she ate it up. She was in the moment. She was whoop-de-woo, look at me. Yes, yes.
She was
I am
batting
fine.
them lashes. She was
and ain't
batting
nothing
them
wrong
lashes.
with knowing you fine, sis, because the girl was
And
fine.
she was fine.
She was fine and pretty. She had a beautiful smile. So I think we just didn't get a whole lot from her, but she was with someone where she didn't have to give a whole lot, because he was taking up all the space. So I don't know if that was an intentional effort or if it just happened that way, but it was just like, a little block from knowing who she was. But I thought AD was cool. I think Clay is cool. I think that most of the people who are having an issue with this felt like Clay was going to say no the whole time. I personally dipped in and out. And that for me, there was reason to believe that he could say yes. But there was also reason to believe that he could say no.
He did mention being reformed. He did mention his viewpoint changing.
And how much she'd helped him.
Yeah, he did mention that. I personally, on the what do you look like from the very beginning, I thought he was going to say no at some point. Because if you're leading with that, you on
the wrong show.
You on the wrong show. And of course, it takes a lot to come back from that train of thought. Even if you're reformed, quote unquote, a little bit, if you're on, well, what do you look like? What does your body look like? You're still not there yet. And I don't think you're mature enough to really have a real, grown folks adult relationship, let alone a marriage. Again, he could have said this well before the altar. I think a lot of people have a problem with him saying no at the altar as well. I saw a lot of people who were like, don't do this to me, or blah, 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 blah. Let me tell y'all something. I understand the embarrassment that comes along with it, but something has to be said for the person, even at, again, the most inconvenient time and the most embarrassing time. You would much rather that person say no in that moment than for you to get married and be officially married, and then 6 months down the line talk about you getting an annulment because it didn't work out. And that person knows at that altar that they're not going to marry you. You are worried about yourself and you're being selfish in that moment. And then you're not even thinking about your future in that moment. If somebody says no to you at that altar, there's a reason why they're saying no. There's a reason why they got to that altar. But saying no at that altar is saving you a lot of heartbreak down the line. Although in that moment, it's embarrassing, but I would much rather Clay has said no in this moment than to get married and then to become a statistic 6 months down the line.
Yeah, but
it's bad.
But there were several other couples. Only 2 made it to wedding day. And the
Right.
other couples was like, no, way before. So on this particular season, it's almost like y'all just kept Clay around here so it would be somebody else at the altar, So there's talk about, show setup and, formatting and all that kind of stuff about, and I guess that makes sense too. But ultimately,
I'm sure it's variables that they're going to have to change with the show, because there's a reality element to it, because you can't decide how people are going to feel at the end of the day, as much as this is a reality show. Listen, old buddy, the white dude that came out, when they came out and said, oh, you described yourself. Oh, she said she looked like Megan Fox. And he said
does not.
She does not look like Megan Fox. Like right then, You can go ahead and end that right off the bat. Like, Buddy's body language, his eyes, his whole thing, he was in the AD 100%.
And then the girl that he turned down to be with the Megan Fox lookalike was phenomenal looking.
Yes.
And she told him, you are going to be mad at yourself.
She did. I did see that part. She told him that he was going to be sorry for doing it. He had a bird in the hand, and he went for the two in the bush, or the one in the bush, and it ended up being a dud. And, listen, man, I describe yourself however you want to describe yourself, okay? That man was going lock, stock, and barrel on that Megan Fox description. He was all in on it.
That might be true.
He was, listen, I'm a man. He was all in when he said, I look like Megan. It was like old girl on Friday when she said, I look like Janet Jackson. And he said he looked more like Freddie Jackson. And Friday, she said, I look like Megan Fox, and she looked like Red Fox. Or Jamie Foxx when she came out from out there. Not that bad, but she came out from out that tunnel. He was clearly disappointed. The smile was a very awkward, embarrassed smile. He pushed through it as much as possible. The conversations that they had after that were awkward. He was brushing his teeth one time and they were talking. The conversations were just awkward. The interactions were awkward. At any moment that he could have a conversation with any of the other women when they were around, he would just completely leave her and walk off and go someplace else. He clearly wasn't interested. And you could tell that right off the bat. And you can tell that in most instances. It's a tough sell. I want to ask you, because I've asked you this before, because you deal with clients that are single and married couples as well. You run the gamut of that. Can you really, truly fall in love with someone not seeing them? Is love truly blind?
I believe it is.
Okay. Why do you think so?
I don't think this show is set up appropriately for you to actually find. I mean, some marriages survive this, but there's not a lot of time. I think finding love blindly takes some time. But if you build a connection with someone, which is what the whole experiment is about, if you build a soul connection, then it can survive things like physicality and finances and all that kind of stuff. But when you get into the real world outside of those pods, it hits hard, it slams right into you. Mm-hmm. And there's a very limited amount of time for them to work all that stuff out. So I don't know if they'll ever get an accurate, real answer on the show unless two people just, are matches made in heaven and they just kind of work it out and commit to it. But for the most part, the majority of the people are going to struggle with that because of the time frame. But I do believe that you can fall in love with someone blindly. Love is huge. It's big. Mm-hmm. Saying that you couldn't is putting a limitation on what love's capabilities are, and I just don't believe that's realistic.
I mean, well, you're not putting capabilities on it. Sure, I don't think are limitations on it. But we got to also be honest, because I think we talked about this as well. The majority of people, even though eventually conversation comes in, maybe even immediately a conversation comes in, all of the other attributes are going to come in. Initially, your first flutter, the first set of butterflies is going to happen for most people is when they visually look at someone and they're attracted to them. Would you not agree?
No.
No?
No.
Okay. Why? That was okay. That was my elaborate more. Okay. You just answered hard like no. And that is it.
It's hard for me. I mean, there are soul connections that can live and survive whether there's a physical attraction or not. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You can connect to someone emotionally, mentally. It doesn't have to be a physical connection. But at the same time, if you are not physically attracted before the emotional connection, then the emotional connection may not happen. So it's a weird type of thing, but I don't think it's not possible. And I don't think that the only way to feel them flutters is from seeing somebody.
No, and I agree. I'm asking, these questions to kind of get your thoughts on it. You can definitely get those flutters from a voice and from a conversation. You definitely can.
And you can be attracted to someone that you see and it not be a physical attraction.
Yes, it can be from conversation. It can be from...
It can be from the vibe. It can be from the swag. You could just be so swagged out that you're undeniably attractive.
Was I swagged out?
Absolutely.
Was I undeniably attractive?
Absolutely.
Wait a minute. Wait. I felt a little apprehension in that say. I felt like you answered that second one like, this is what... Wait a minute. Did I lose you? Did you go to sleep? I'm sorry. Just went out. I'm gone.
Next.
No, seriously.
Seriously what?
Seriously.
Baby, I was attracted to you.
Was I undeniably attracted to you is the question.
Were you undeniably attracted
Don't answer
to me?
You going to repeat? Oh, you say, was I undeniably attracted to you? You going to repeat the question?
It was not undeniably attractive.
Okay. And that's fair.
However, when I saw you at Soups, the whole scene was like a movie.
That was a few days after we had first met each other, by the way. Yes.
That was undeniably attractive.
Okay. Because of the aura.
Because of the aura, because of the energy you carried. It was really confident and bossy and just masculine and black manish. It was just all that. Mm-hmm. So that took precedent over what you looked like. Because I think you had on a baseball cap to the back and you had a black hanging out your mouth and you had on flip-flops and socks and you was just like, come go with me. It was to come go with me for me, So the way you carried yourself, the way all of that made you look better.
I got you. You were absolutely undoubtedly gorgeous when I saw you for the first time. That's why I walked up to you and I asked you to marry me because you were just absolutely stunning. It was breathtaking when I saw you the first time. God, I had not had a conversation with you, but you smiled at me when I said it. I obviously got you a little bit when I said it and caught you off guard. So there was a little cute, little embarrassed little smile and a chuckle and a hee, and you walked off. And I said then, got him.
Did you?
We fucking got him. We fucking got him. I'm channel my Drewski right there.
And then I went on my merry way.
You went on your merry way. I wasn't thinking about it at all because you were getting that all night, I'm pretty sure, in there that night. But the conversation that we had afterward and the hanging out is what made the attraction stronger because at that point, you were more than just a pretty face. There had been pretty faces before, and 2 minutes into the conversation, I was like, oh my God, get me away from here. And that happens. You can talk to somebody that's beautiful and then realize that they're complete morons or idiots, and then it's unattractive.
It's a male-female thing then? Because we were having the same experience, but our interpretation of what was going on was totally different. You were attracted to me physically first, and I was attracted to your vibe and your aura first.
I think that is with men. I think it's different because I think women can totally have sex with a man that they are attracted to emotionally or attracted to by other ancillary attributes. And they can be attracted to him enough to get naked and have sex with him. With dudes, I think we're the other way around. We are more predicated to having sex with a woman that we are physically attracted to outside. We could have sex with somebody that we've never even talked to. You could be a mute, actually. A mute and maybe deaf and communicate by sign language. But if you fine, we could probably have sex with you. It might not go any further, but I think those are the two differences in men. And that's not across the board for all. That's not a generalization for all men and women. I'm saying that a lot of, if not the majority of men are going to look at physical attributes first. And I think the majority of women look at physical attributes first, if we're being honest. But it may be closer to half and half than it is for men.
I mean, women, I think, do have the same, oh my God, he fine, or he can get it, like, sure. But I can't speak too much about that because I don't operate that way.
You operate in a different, I mean,
but I'm
you
sure
operate in a
that
different
happens.
plane. And I'm sure it happens. But for me, in that particular instance, I was attracted to you. And then the conversation this is going to determine whether or not I can go forward. The initial physical attraction can take place like that. It can take place in the snap of a finger.
Sure.
It's 2-3 seconds. It's a glance. It's a look. Okay. There is part A of that. Now I'm going to go into part B, C, and D to see if we can get to E, F, and G, whatever the case is. However, you go through your checks and balances.
You know, most of the people that I would find attractive, I wouldn't want. So there's like
because there's another piece to it. Yeah, you've talked about that before.
Eye candy for me. Like last night, whatever night it was, we were watching The Rock, and I was like, The Rock is a beautiful man. Like I think he is created in like what gods look like.
He works out.
I think he's beautiful from the head to the toe. He's sculpted and all this, but I wouldn't want him. I wouldn't even date him. He's not my type. I wouldn't want to lay next to The Rock, honestly. I know that sounds crazy, ladies, but I ain't crazy. I'm serious. It's just my preference. Just my preference. I would not. He's too beautiful. You know what I'm saying? I need some ruggedness, some I hate to say it, but some streetness or something that he wouldn't have. And I wouldn't be interested. I wouldn't be like, oh, I want to get him. He can get some. He wouldn't be the one for me, So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just weird.
No, I mean, I don't want to say a lot of women think like that, but there are instances for men too where you're attracted to someone physically and you're completely turned off by the personality, where you wouldn't want to deal with it at all whatsoever. And there's a lot of instances
saying
like
that. I'm just saying I recognize that he's physically attractive, but I am not attracted. Does that make sense? That
makes complete sense. Attractive, but I'm not attracted to. That's a lot of instances. I will say that. And I think that's the case for men too as well. But it's just, the whole dynamic, when I think about the relationships I've had, I don't know if that's the same for you, but if I was to take all of those relationships and turn them into a love is blind scenario, which one of them would actually work? And if you were to do the same, which one of them would actually work? Like, it's crazy to think like that. If all we had was conversation and a wall, for how long did they talk to each other?
All my relationships would have worked. Because I was connected in some way other than physical. In every one of my relationships, they were all good, but every one of them.
Okay. That makes sense. I don't know. I'd have to think about that. We may have to revisit that if I play all of the relationships back, not the long ones and the short ones, and play them back and see if they would have worked. I'm absolutely positive there's a couple of them that I know would not have worked from just the love is blind stage. Wouldn't have worked. But, the relationship happened just out of, for whatever reason, whether it was survival or attraction or whatever the case was. There's a few of those survival relationships in there too.
What's a survival relationship?
You're just in it to survive.
What does that mean?
You in it to survive.
I mean, to meet your needs to stay alive?
To stay afloat, to have companionship, to have a roof over your head, to have a way to get around, to have a way to be sustainable. Men do that a lot, huh? Oh, they do. A lot more than women. They do it a lot more than women. And I'm not proud of it. Let me just say that. It's a lot for me to say that because I do have to get that off of my spirit. Of a number of them were survival relationships, whereas I'm really just with you at this moment because
convenience.
You are convenient and you are a lifeline that's going to help me get from point A to point B. And when you're dating in survival mode, it's not good. It's not a good place to be. In hindsight,
yeah, sure.
It's an evil villain place to be because it is completely done from a selfish point of view.
And you never really wanted the person.
Never really wanted them past what that opportunity presented for you, which is bad because, again, these are humans and these are people, and you should never, ever treat anybody like that. But when you're young, those things happen, unfortunately. And that person is just there for what they can provide for you as a bridge to the next side. To the other side. And I hate to say it, I'm disappointed in myself for those instances, but they were learning experiences and they were mistakes that have helped me to evolve and to mature and be able to have this conversation with my sons or younger guys to explain to them what that looks like. And I've had those conversations, in relationships of survival. It's a tough little thing. So I'm gonna give you an opportunity to get your phone out. We got a interesting little thing
opportunity
to go in because I sent you something there. There was a piece, I guess a few months ago, that was on social media. There was a list that a young lady put up, and these are jokes, ladies and gentlemen, because nowadays, there's this thing and this term about men being quote unquote sassy, which basically comes from I guess the metrosexual idea of men having qualities that some people perceive as being feminine, as a matter of fact, which I think is stupid, by the way. But, there was a huge list of things on that list, including, ordering dessert, and a whole bunch of other things that said that made you look sassy. Well, a guy came out with a list of things here recently that would make women identify as masculine to kind of counter the sassy list that was made for the men. And I thought it was kind of interesting, and I sent it to my bride. And I was just looking at it as I was passing it over. And I looked at the first 4 things on the list, and I was like, oh my God, my wife does all 4 of these things right off the bat, the first 4. And I was like, wow, they would say that my wife is masculine from there. And I love her for all of these things, and all 4 of these things are reasons why I married her. But they made the list, which kind of shows that the list is kind of a joke, but it's a lot of stupid things on the list.
Somebody gonna find themselves in every one of these.
Yeah. But anyway, the first 4 things on the list.
I'm not reading number 2.
Why you not reading number 2?
I'm not reading it.
Baby, everybody does. They're going to go and look at the list and they're going to see number 2. Everybody does it. Go ahead and read it.
Number 1.
If you read it, it shows how much you love me.
Why you always measuring my love?
Why you always rolling your eyes when I say that?
Because you always measuring my love.
I'm not measuring your love. Your love is boundless, baby.
It is.
It is.
All right. Number 1. Drinking beer.
Yep. Right out the gate. One of the reasons that I married her right there is because she can drink some goddamn Bud Light. And I mean, she can put down some Bud Light, and it's one of the sexiest things that there could out there. I love it. I love it. I love it.
All
Tall
right.
cans, short cans, bottles, rarely on draft. She might drink it on draft, but she doesn't really want it in a cup. She wants it in a can, or she wants it in a bottle. Give me a Bud Light. I love it.
But I love it. Straw.
And she drinks it with a straw too. Occasionally, if you need to.
I prefer a straw.
You will drink it. You prefer a straw if you just want to be dainty, but you don't have to do that.
I ain't trying to be dainty. I just don't want my mouth on them things.
Good.
All right. Number 2 is farting and it makes a noise. That's ridiculous.
It's not ridiculous.
Number 3.
Listen, let me say this.
Moving on.
Women fart. Okay? If you're a woman out there and you finna lie and say that you don't fart, it might be why you're single. You need to find you a man that is cool with you farting, because we know y'all fart. We know it. Okay? We know y'all fart. Ooh. We know you lift your leg up and fart, and we know that it makes a noise. It's gas. It's a bodily function. We know that you fart. There's no need for you to try to hide it. Okay? There's no need for you to try to hold it in. Let that fart out. Let it out, because I'm going to let mine out. And my wife knows it. At any point, at any place, I'm going to let it out. Movie theater, opera, play, you going to get it. Because you know what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to hold that gas in and make my stomach hurt and be uncomfortable in that seat. I'm finna let it go. And I'm going to look around like ain't nothing happened. And when you smelling it, I'm going to be looking around like I'm looking for the person who did it along with you. So there's that. I'm just going to put that out there as a disclaimer so that you know going forward. All right. Number 3.
You can see me?
I can see you.
Oh, I thought I was invisible. I disappeared.
Nope, you did.
All right. Driving with one hand.
Easy. That's how you drive.
Smoking a blunt by yourself.
Yep. All reasons that I married this woman.
Let me get a top 20.
Okay.
Drinking without a straw.
Not you.
Saying Ayo.
Not you.
Being from New York.
Not you.
Sitting with your legs open.
You've done that. That's cool.
Going to clubs.
That's you.
Don't know how to twerk.
You know how to twerk.
I was finna see what your answer was gonna be. Not looking both ways before crossing the street.
Yeah, you're pretty careful about crossing the street.
Favorite color, black.
You like black, but not like that.
Black is my favorite color. So.
Is it? Yikes.
Snoring.
Yeah.
Falling.
Yeah.
I don't fall.
I mean, you don't fall like, Keystone Cop fall.
When the last time you saw me fall?
On the side of your bed, you mean?
No, that was you. I'm talking about
No,
me.
I did fall on the side of the bed, but
When
you
you
haven't
seen
fallen
me
on the side of the
fall?
bed?
No.
You haven't?
Child.
You don't fall?
Uh-uh.
All right. Well, you take that one off. I'm going to remember a time, but that's cool.
I mean, maybe, but the way they mentioning it is somebody prone to falling.
Oh, well, you're not prone. No, you're not clumsy at all.
Doing more than 20 push-ups. That ain't me. Not knowing how to cook.
That's not you.
If your favorite Power Ranger is pink.
You didn't even watch Power Rangers.
If Buttercup was your favorite PBG, I don't even know what that is.
Powerpuff Girl.
Chest piece tattoo.
Nope.
No, what?
You don't have a chest piece tattoo. You got a titty tattoo.
What's the difference?
This is your chest. You know what your chest is? Well, I guess for women, chest is titties a little bit, ain't it?
Yeah. I think.
But you ain't got it. I think they mean right here. I think they mean here.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I think. You ain't got one of them.
If you're over 5'8".
You are 5'6".
Correct.
Okay.
Eating. 2 bonus ones. Eating Captain Crunch.
You don't even like Captain Crunch, which is weird because it's delicious.
And eating steak.
Oh, you love steak.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes.
I do fiend for steaks from time to time.
Absolutely. I don't know if that's necessarily one of the reasons that I married you, but the top 4 definitely were hella attractive.
That's
like the
crazy.
night you walked in after I met you, that night at Soups, which is a few days after I first laid eyes on you and asked you to marry me, you got a beer that night. You asked for a beer. I wanted to know if you wanted something to drink, and you was like, give me a Bud Light. I was like, are you the girl of my dreams?
Why was that so significant?
Because usually women would ask for a drink.
They asked for liquor.
Mm-hmm. They was going to ask for a Amaretta Sour or a Walk Me Down or a Long Island Iced Tea, which for whatever reason seemed to be the thing in those days.
That's because if you buy it, they want you to give them something that's going to hit hard.
That's going to hit hard. It was.
The last 4 are don't like purses. That's not me.
That's not you. You love
Drink
purses.
cognac.
You do. You will.
Not knowing how to type.
You know how to type.
Operates a manual transmission.
You know how to drive a stick. So, yeah.
My masculine energy is strong, even without this list.
You're definitely an alpha female. I will say that. You definitely got some take charge in you. You definitely got some get up and go about you. You have a very strong personality. You're not weak or soft in any sense.
I'm soft.
You are soft in that sense, but you know what I mean.
No, I don't.
You hard, soft.
I'm hard soft.
You know what I mean? Like your feminine energy is massive and great, and it permeates all through this house. This house feels of feminine energy. Your energy permeates through this household, and I love it. Your presence is here, and we have a beautiful daughter that's here, and she feels that, and I want her to be able to embrace that power. I'm not overbearing. I don't like being overbearing. I think we fit each other well in that fashion. I would not want a woman, and I don't want to call it masculine energy. I think people try to put genders on these things and put genders on these roles and put genders on this energy, and I think it's misnaming it to be able to do that.
Masculine and feminine energy are real things.
Yes,
that's real.
Mm-hmm.
Masculine and feminine roles is what you take issue with.
Yeah, in some instances, yeah, I do. Not traditionally, yes,
Yeah.
but I want somebody who, if the shootout is happening, I want somebody that I can stand back to back with and who gonna bust they get. That's gonna bust back with us back to back like we Luke Skywalker and Han Solo in Star Wars.
Later,
yes, that's what I want. I want somebody that I can get in that foxhole with that's gonna blah 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 right along with me.
I read a question on Facebook the other day that asked if you were out and some woman walked up to your man and slapped him, what would you do? I didn't answer the question because I read the comments and they were going in a different direction.
Where were they going?
They were saying, most of the comments were saying that they would, take up for the man, get the man, all that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
My response would have been, why she slap you? I need to know first what she slapped you for, because you might have deserved that slap.
See, here's the thing,
but the earlier version of me,
an earlier version of you would have immediately went to the violence right off the top, which is cool.
That you met when you fell in love,
absolutely,
would have automatically.
And there are pieces of you then that I'm glad are back there and not here. I'm glad that the evolution is there, because I agree in the same sense. I just got through having a conversation and talking about, you walking in the room, and I was watching something on Twitter again, it's the Wild Wild West over on Twitter, but watching something on Twitter where, the female walked in the room and her man was cheating with another woman and she instantly pounced on the woman. It was just no, this is what happened. The husband was playing a prank on his wife. The wife walked in the house. He had put on a wig and put on a skirt, which the links that you're going to for this prank is cool. But he had his back to the door, wig on, skirt on, at the sink, doing some shit in the sink. The wife walked in the house and immediately ran over and grabbed the wig or grabbed the hair that she thought was the hair and pulled it off. And of course, it was him. And he was like, it was a prank. She was all mad and shit because she immediately came in and jumped on the woman. Like, first of all, assess the situation before you find out what the fuck is going on. You walk in a room, if your husband is cheating with another woman, you walk in a room and you jump on the woman. That's ridiculous. The dude you walk in, you a dude, you walk in the room and your wife is in there with another dude and you immediately jump on the dude and you got beef with the dude, and the person who is supposed to be with you and committed to you is the person that you need to be talking to, and then you don't do that. If a woman comes up to your man and slaps him in the face, first of all, you need to find out why that happened. Is there just a woman who's just indiscriminately going around slapping dudes in the face?
Now,
for no
I will
reason?
say that I would not let her leave. Mm-hmm. I would make her
stand there. You're going to find out what's happening.
So that if she is in the wrong, I can handle it. But if he is in the wrong, he going to get slapped again.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I wouldn't wait. I'm not in the business of wasting energy.
Because if she comes up and slaps him because you tried to holler at me over there at the bar, and now I see you with your wife, how dare you, slaps you in the face. What if your wife immediately jumps on the woman and whoops her ass, and then find out later on that you was over there trying to holler at her over there at the bar?
I'm not wasting my energy.
Not wasting any energy. There it is. We're going to ask what happened right there in that point. My wife is going to say, man, why did you slap him? He tried to holler at me over there at the bar.
I'm not asking her nothing.
You ask me.
I'm going to ask you, why did she slap you?
more than likely, the man is going to lie in that particular instance.
Doesn't matter if you lie or not, I'm gonna know it. So
yeah, I guess so.
After I ask you, then I'll ask her. But you can't. I mean, your energy gonna tell me the truth anyway. So I'm asking you. I don't care about her. I'm gonna ask you. Then I deal with her.
There it is, and that's how that works. And that's another one of the reasons why I'm married to you, right there. So we didn't have a love is blind situation. I got a good look at you right off the bat. But of course, there was a lot of things that led to us falling in love with each other. And I think that came from the conversations that we had and the actions that we had. Ultimately, at the end of the day, after my initial attraction to you and your initial attraction to me at that moment when we first met. So maybe there is some truth in love being blind, and that can happen. But at the end of the day, don't get yourself into relationships that are just there because they might potentially help you to grow your social media following or on TV. So, I don't know what's going to happen with Clay and AD. Maybe it'll work out, maybe it won't, but it has given a lot of people a lot of things to talk about. But black folks, outside of anything, and I've seen a lot of this lately, this unresolved trauma that comes from childhood, from watching your parents do things, whether it's struggle financially or struggle in their marriage, struggling with abuse or infidelity, or sexual assault in the family, molestation in the family, any of those issues, they're going to follow your kids through the rest of their lives, and it's going to stick with them. And it is going to make, you talked last week a couple of weeks ago, about the things that happen to you in your childhood that manifest themselves in the decisions that you make in your relationships. And that's exactly what happens. Things that happen to you in your childhood and things that you see will manifest themselves in your relationships and how you approach people and how you have relationships with the opposite sex or marriages. So make sure you do
Unless
that.
you heal.
Unless you heal.
It can be rectified. You can learn and grow and turn that pain to power. But you got to heal. Which,
by the way, Heal is a t-shirt that is available at www.kundicollective.com. It's a part of the Kundi collection. We usually say that at the top of the show, but we got it in right here before we finna wrap.
And if you need help healing, book you a queen session.
There you go.
So you can walk through that trauma, identify it, and heal it.
There
and
it is.
I help you do it.
There it is. All right, guys.
Yeah.
Hit us up in that regard. All right. So, again, this has been a great show. I am Kaz.
And I'm Queen.
And this has been